Let's begin by cultivating a motivation and recalling that we have a very special kind of life this time, what in Buddhism is called a precious human life. And it's precious because we have both the inner and outer conditions that enable us to hear, think, and meditate on the Buddhist teachings. So, for example, we're healthy, we have enough food and clothing, shelter, and medicine, we're not impoverished. We live in a place where it's possible to hear the teachings and where there's people who practice them, where we can learn them. From our side, we have interest in spiritual matters, and that's something that's quite important to respect in ourselves. I think all beings have spiritual curiosity, but in some people it gets buried with the fact that we have it, we're acting on it, we want to learn and think about things and discover the deeper meaning and purpose of our life. That's a very special part of us that it's important that we respect. And so with the opportunity that this precious life affords us, we can really progress along the spiritual path, purifying previously created misdeeds, creating a lot of goodness and positive energy, learning and practicing the teachings, transforming our minds, gaining insight into the nature of reality, learning how to have impartial love and compassion for each and every living being equally. There's so many things that we can learn and do with this life. So it's important to understand that and therefore to use our lives properly. And the best way to use them is in service to other living beings. So to do what we can to help beings now, but also to advance along the path so that we can be of great spiritual benefit to living beings as well. Because that spiritual benefit is what can bring them ultimate happiness, a peace that doesn't waver due to external conditions. And so with a heart that really cares about other living beings, then let's generate the motivation to attain the highest spiritual states, what we call full awakening, so that we can be of the greatest benefit to living beings. And let's make that our motivation for being here this week, as well as for listening to the teachings this evening. So this evening, we're talking about the 8 verses of mind training. So this is one of my favorite teachings. And the Dalai Lama says in the text too that it's one of his favorite teachings. The reason why it's one of my favorite ones is because it talks about what to do when you encounter challenging or difficult circumstances in your life. And we all encounter these, and we all have problems, and we all have habitual emotional patterns, how we react to these situations, and we all have habitual behavioral patterns. And many of our emotional patterns don't bring us much happiness. Our behavioral patterns sometimes just, create a mess. And so what's very nice about these teachings is they point out to us another way to see a situation. And when we see a situation from a different perspective, then how we act in that situation is also different. Of course, with these teachings, very often the way they recommend for us to view or act in a situation is the total opposite to what our habit pattern is. So sometimes when we hear this, we go, what? So that's good. Yeah, some of our ideas are getting challenged. Some of our presuppositions that there's only one possible emotional response to a certain event, we have to start questioning that. Yeah. For example, usually, when people criticize us, how do we feel emotionally? What's our emotional response? Anger, isn't it? How dare you say that about me? We may not say that to the person. We may stuff the anger inside, but we're mad. Okay? So then we think, well, everybody's mad when they get criticized. It's the normal thing. Everybody does it. So it must be okay. But do we ever ask ourselves, does getting mad really help the situation? Yeah, somebody tore into me. Does getting mad at them change that? Does it establish good communication with the person? What good, does getting mad do? Okay. And so it forces us to question that. And sometimes when we do, we find out, there's a lot of problems when we get mad. It causes a lot of turbulence. And then we start to think, oh, maybe I better figure out a way to work with my temper. But then we go, how in the world do I work with my temper? This guy criticized me. And so then the verses start talking about how to look at the situation in a different way so that we don't have to respond with anger. We see that there's other ways to respond emotionally. Okay, so it takes some training. That's why it's called mind training. It's not called take a pill and you change immediately. Okay, it's training means that we have to practice, that we have to repeatedly try on different ways of thinking about things. Okay, and rehabituate our mind. But when we do it, we change. And usually for the better. Okay, so let's see what His Holiness says. He says, I recite the 8 verses of mind training by Lungri Tampa, who lived from 1054 to 1123. So, about a millennia ago. I recite these every day and regularly apply them to my life. When I'm delayed at an airport, I reflect on these verses, and before going into potentially difficult situations, I contemplate them as well. I will briefly explain this poem and encourage you to read it daily. Beyond just reading or reciting the 8 verses, try to practice what they say by transforming your emotions and your thoughts. Okay, so the first verse says, with the thought of attaining awakening for the welfare of all beings, who are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel, I will constantly practice holding them dear. Okay, so with the thought of attaining awakening, our fullest spiritual potential. Yeah, why do we want to do this? Not just for our own benefit, but for the welfare of all beings. Yeah, it says all. It doesn't just say my friends and relatives. Yeah, it doesn't just say the people I like and the people who agree with me and the people who are nice to me. It says all beings. Okay, and these beings are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. So in ancient Indian mythology, there was this idea that in the ocean there was a special kind of gem, and if you got it, then anything you wished would come true. So it was called a wish-fulfilling jewel. So the sailors would go out and in the ocean and try and find this wish-fulfilling jewel. Okay, so here it's saying that living beings, all living beings, are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. So in a worldly way, a wish-fulfilling jewel sounds good. It's better than a credit card in somebody else's name that has no limit. Yeah, you can get whatever you want. Okay. But not just material things, but also in terms of relationships, in terms of other opportunities, and so on. So all these living beings are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. Okay. Now think of somebody that you can't stand. Yeah, you got that person in your mind? Funny how easily they come to mind. Yeah. That person is more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel to you. Does your mind scream, what? Yeah, is your mind going, what in the world are you talking about? That beep, beep, beep is more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. Forget it. Okay, so these verses challenge our beliefs. Okay, so that person and all the other ones, yeah, are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. So understanding that, I will constantly practice holding them dear. Okay? I will constantly practice holding them dear. So think of somebody that you really can't stand, that you think is, messing up this planet big time. And remember that they are more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. Okay, so then the question comes, why? How can you say that? Yeah, all these people who are polluting the universe, who are spewing pollution, don't care at all about future generations. They're more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel? Yeah. These people who are bigoted and biased and harmful to our country and to the world, they're more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel? Yeah. This person who hurt my feelings so badly that it took me a long time to get over it, and I still haven't, that person is more precious than a wish-fulfilling jewel. Okay, so let's see what His Holiness says about this. So he starts out, he says, imagine looking at sentient beings, friends, enemies, strangers, humans, animals, the sick, the healthy, the young, and the old, and everybody else, and seeing them all as equally precious. Okay, so stop for a minute. Yeah, and can you imagine looking at all those people? Yeah. Including animals and insects. Yeah. And seeing them as equally precious. Okay. Why are they equally precious? They all have the potential to become a Buddha too. Maybe not in that particular body. Yeah. You'll hear us talk about our cats and the turkeys a lot. Yeah. So maybe not in that lifetime, but maybe in another lifetime. So such an attitude takes time to cultivate, but it is both realistic and beneficial because other sentient beings are a major source of our happiness and prosperity. Okay. So recall, as we've explored earlier in the book, that all the experiences that we value and seek depend upon cooperation and interaction with others. Okay? So think about it. If you took all the food that you've eaten since you were born, yeah, and put it somewhere, it would definitely be bigger than this whole building, don't you think? Yeah? All the food you've ever eaten in your life? Where did all that food come from? Did you grow it? Did you make it? Where did it come from? Yeah. It came because other people grew it. Or if you eat meat, it means other people gave you their body for lunch. Would you give them your body for lunch? Okay. If we think about all the clothes you've ever had, you know, starting with your onesies when you were a little baby. Yeah. You don't know what a onesie is? Yeah. You know what onesies are? Yeah. Okay. So starting, you know, with your baby clothes, up until you have now, I mean, it would be huge. And all of our clothes came from other people too. All of the buildings we've ever been in were built by other people. The roads we've driven on, constructed by other people. Yeah. The medicine that we've used to keep well or get well, made by other people. Our whole education, everything we've ever learned, we learned from other people. Okay. When we really think about it, our whole life is very dependent on other living beings. Very dependent. There's no way to really stay alive by ourselves. Yeah. Could you stay alive by yourself? Yeah. I mean, could you go out and live in that forest for a week? Would you know what to eat and what not to eat? Yeah. Would you know how to even make yourself a bed in the forest? Or how to get water? Or what would happen, you know, if your shoes got all messed up? What would you do? Yeah, when we really think about it, we're totally lost without the help of other living beings. So we depend on the efforts of other living beings. They grow the food we eat, make the clothes we wear, construct the buildings and the roads we use, and remove the trash we no longer want. That's a big favor. Yeah, try not emptying the trash around here for a week. Let's see what happens. Our feelings of comfort and security are due to sentient beings' help and support. Our knowledge comes from those who teach us. Our talents depend on those who encourage us and provide us with opportunities. So we often feel like, well, I have this knowledge, I have this talent. Yeah, I'm better than other people in this area. And, I have creative new ideas. And are any of those things yours? Were you born with that knowledge? Were you born with those talents? Yeah. When we were born, we couldn't even do anything to protect ourselves or stay alive. Yeah. So everything has come due to the kindness of other people. So there's nothing really to get conceited about, like, oh, I'm so good, I'm the best, this and this. Well, how come we're the best this and this? Because somebody else taught us. Somebody else encouraged us. Somebody else, trained us or corrected us or whatever. So even our progress on the path and our Dharma realizations depend on others, for without cultivating the aspiration to gain full awakening for their benefit, we cannot progress on the Bodhisattva path. So a Bodhisattva is somebody who wants to become a Buddha, and their motivation, a Buddha is a fully awakened being who has eliminated all defilements and developed all abilities to their fullest extent. A bodhisattva is a Buddha wannabe. Okay? But a bodhisattva has to have a particular motivation. They don't want to be a Buddha because the Buddhas are best. They want to be a Buddha because when they've developed the abilities of a fully awakened one, then they can be of the greatest benefit to other living beings. And their chief purpose is to benefit other living beings. Okay, so the way to do that is to become a fully awakened one. So the bodhisattvas all have that mind, that aspiration, which is called bodhicitta. Okay, bodhi means awakening, citta means mind. So it's an awakening mind. It's a mind that's striving for full awakening. Bodhisattva, bodhi again means awakening. Sattva means being. So it's a being who is aspiring for full awakening. At Buddhahood, too, Buddha's compassionate activities occur spontaneously and effortlessly in relation to sentient beings who are the beneficiaries of their awakening influence. Without sentient beings, there would be no reason for bodhisattvas to work hard to become Buddhas. Yeah. So if we want to become Buddhas, we have to generate that mind of bodhicitta that aspires for full awakening for the benefit of living beings. So to have that aspiration, that clearly depends on living beings. Yeah. If we leave even one living being out of our bodhicitta aspiration, our own spiritual advancement is hindered. There's no way we can become Buddhas. Yeah. So even one mosquito, yeah, You'll meet our mosquitoes too. Yeah. Even one turkey, even one stink bug. Yeah. We have to include everybody, including our dear president. Is it okay if I talk about him, or are you going to throw tomatoes at me if I do? Okay, this verse encourage. Oh, wait a minute. I'm up here. Our internal well-being depends on others as well. As we train our minds to see others in a more positive way, feelings of closeness and caring arise in us, which allow us to relax. On the other hand, if we dwell on others' faults and despise them, we are unhappy. A sense of goodwill towards others gives us inner strength in our daily lives, even in the face of difficulties. Okay, we need to think about that one. Okay. So our internal well-being depends on others. Yeah. So as we train our mind to see others in a more positive light, in other words, seeing how they benefit us, seeing their good qualities, appreciating them for what they do, the more we train our mind to see that, the more we have a sense of closeness to those living beings. And when we have a sense of closeness, then we trust, our mind isn't afraid, we don't have so much fear, our mind relaxes. Okay. If we have a very critical mind, and everywhere we look, we see people's faults, this is wrong with this, and that person has that problem, and this one, and we're super judgmental and critical, are we happy? Yeah, what's your life experience? Yeah, when you look at your own life. Don't believe what I say. Look at your own life. Yeah, when your mind is always picking faults at someone and always seeing them as interfering with your happiness, and they're super obnoxious and blah, 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 blah. Are you happy? No, we're not happy, are we? Every person is a combination of good qualities and bad qualities. Yeah, none of us is perfect. We all have good qualities and bad qualities. Do you agree? Yeah. Do you know anybody who's perfect? Do you know anybody who has only bad qualities? Yeah. Do you know anybody who has only good qualities? We say His Holiness until His Holiness Dalai Lama tells us something that we don't like. Then it's like, well, yeah, His Holiness has only good qualities, but why did he say that? Yeah, our mind can be very critical of everybody, can't it? Yeah, somebody disagrees with our opinion. Yeah, people who agree with our ideas, we think are wonderful. They're perfect. Yeah, people who praise us, who give us presents, who agree with our ideas, who think we're wonderful, we think they are near perfection. People who criticize us, who interfere with our happiness, who call us names, who ridicule us, who boss us around, who blame us for things we didn't do, who abuse us, who discourage us, those people are 100% rotten. Yeah. But if we really look in our lives, we see this person as 100% good today, then they do one small thing we don't like tomorrow, and tomorrow we see them as 100% bad. Yeah. Are your feelings about other people steady? Yeah. No, our feelings aren't steady, are they? My teacher said we're like emotional yo-yos. Yeah, they still have yo-yos now, don't they? Yeah. Oh, there's one toy that hasn't gone out of style. Yeah. So we're always, down and up and down and up and down and up. And we think we're like so stable. I'm a stable person. I can be counted on. Really? Down and up and down and up. I like you. I hate you. I love you. I can't stand you. Yeah. So, okay. And it's all based on how other people treat us and how our mind picks out details about them. Yeah. Oh, look at that person. Wow, they're so good looking. I want to get to know them. Yeah, they look like they're so smart and talented and rich, but I'm not looking for that, but that's really good that they're rich. But I'm not attached to those things. Oh, but yeah, look at what car he's driving. Yeah. So we think, wow, that person's just terrific. Then imagine them in 70 years. What are they going to look like? Okay, that person you just saw that was so good looking, what are they going to look like in 70 years? Hello? Yeah. Bald and saggy. Yeah. Lots of wrinkles, bent over, bad breath, can't move very much, forgetful. Yeah. Are we still going to think that they're the most marvelous person in the world? Are our minds stable? Okay. So what we're trying to do here is we find out that we judge people on very superficial qualities. Yeah. We judge them based on how they look. Yeah. On whether they're young or old or this or that. Yeah. What kind of clothes they wear, how they speak. Yeah. Oh, that person sounds like they're from Alabama. I know, I've read about Alabama in the newspaper. So we judge people all the time, yeah, based on these superficial things. Why do they part their hair on that side instead of this side? Yeah. Why is their hair blue? Actually, it's a nice shade of blue. Yeah. Or why are they wearing, when I was young, it was, why don't their socks match? But now you guys go, why do their socks match? Because now you're not supposed to wear matching socks. When I was young, you had to wear matching socks. Okay, otherwise, like, who are you? Okay, but now if you wear matching socks, it's like it's out, isn't it? And wearing torn jeans. Yeah, when I was little, torn jeans were out. My generation started the torn jeans. Yeah. Yeah, because we tore our own jeans. You guys go and buy torn jeans. Softies. We we wore jeans and tore them ourselves. Yeah, because we really wore them out. And then we patched them. And we got so much social status according to how we patched our jeans. Yeah, we didn't leave them with gaping holes at the knees. Like all of you, you wear your jeans, they all have holes at the knees. No, we got to teach you how to have torn up jeans and do it right. Okay? So do you see how we're always looking superficially and judging people based on these kinds of things? And we don't know how to look into people's hearts and see that everybody in their hearts actually is the same. Because everybody wants to be happy. No one wants to suffer. Wouldn't you say that's true about everybody? Yeah. Everybody wants to be happy. No one wants to suffer. Yeah. Even the turkeys, even the spiders, even the ticks, even the mosquitoes. Yeah. Even all the people in Washington. Not our Washington, that Washington. No, it's that way, isn't it? That Washington across the country. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is look beyond these superficial things and look into people's hearts, and see, wow, we're all alike. Yeah. Plus, my whole life depends on the kindness of all these other people. I don't exist independent of the efforts of all these people. So if you look here in our community, we have people from many different countries. Yeah. And I think that's one of the beauties of this country, is that we have people from many different countries living here. And to stay alive, we're dependent on all the people in every other country. And these fancy-dancy trade wars, that sees other countries are like enemies and cheating us, so we've got to charge them more tariffs. Actually, what we use, so much of what we use, comes from other countries. I think all of you turned in your cell phones. Yeah. So, a good portion of your cell phones was made in China. Another good portion was made in Mexico. A little bit was made here. Do we know those people in China and Mexico? Yeah. Who made the things that are the parts that form the cell phone that you use all the time? We don't know those people, but our life depends on them. Yeah. Look in the labels of your clothes. Yeah. And look, the things that you buy, the food you buy, the clothes you wear, look in the labels and see where they were made. And think of the people in those countries who put their life's effort into making those things that then suddenly appear here on our store shelves, kind of like magic. And then we can buy them and have access to them. Yeah. Yet we don't know those people, but our lives depend on them. So how can we be, as a country, how can we be mean to people in other countries when our lives depend on them? It doesn't make much sense, does it? Okay? So what His Holiness is saying, when we think like this, then there's feelings of closeness and caring in our mind, and we feel a sense of familiarity with other living beings. They aren't strangers. Yeah, they're friends. They're helpers. And so then our own mind relaxes. Mm-hmm. So I travel a lot, and I'm in airports a lot. And so this is something I try and practice when I'm in airports, looking around at all the people and thinking, my life depends on these people. Yeah. Especially the pilots in the plane. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I don't even know them. They're total strangers, but I entrust my whole life to them. And so far, it's worked out well. Yeah. Okay. So His Holiness says a sense of goodwill towards others gives us inner strength in our daily lives, and even in the face of difficulties. Yeah. So because instead of our automatic approach to people being, well, who are they? Are they going to help me, or are they going to harm me? Can I trust them? Instead of that being our natural or automatic way of relating to others, to have a way of relating of, oh, that's somebody who's helped me. That's somebody who's been kind. Yeah. They may not have known me. They don't need to know me in order to be kind to me. Because the bottom line is that I couldn't do what I'm doing and stay alive if it weren't for their kindness and their actions. Yeah, so it doesn't matter whether they know me and they're making this cloth especially for me. That isn't important. Yeah. It's just the fact that, my life depends on them. His Holiness continues. When we experience pain, we are often weak-minded, feeling angry or overwhelmed because we lack control over a situation we did not choose. Sound familiar? However, while we may feel some discomfort when empathizing with or feeling compassion for another person's pain, it is accompanied by a certain inner stability and confidence because we have accepted that pain voluntarily. Intriguingly, if we imagine taking on the suffering of others when we feel wretched, it alleviates our feelings of misery. Okay. So when we experience pain and when we get really stuck in, I'm in this situation, I don't like it, I didn't choose it, I'm so unhappy, I'm angry, His Holiness is saying that's very weak-minded on our part. Okay? Because we're basically going, I don't like everything. Yeah? And that kind of mind doesn't change anything. It just makes itself miserable and makes everybody around us miserable. Okay? But, he's saying, when we empathize with somebody or have compassion for them, while we may experience a little bit of discomfort from empathy or compassion, yeah, actually it's our feelings are accompanied by a certain inner stability and confidence because we have accepted that pain voluntarily. Yeah, we've opened our hearts to others. So when we have compassion, we don't complain. Yeah, do you complain when you feel compassion for somebody? Yeah, we don't. We complain when we're unhappy. Okay, but when we have compassion, the compassion gives us some kind of inner stability and inner strength, so that often we can do something to help the other person. Whereas when we get stuck in, feeling bad for ourselves, we can't even help ourselves. Mm-hmm. So he's saying, if we imagine taking on the suffering of others when we feel wretched, it alleviates our own feelings of misery. Isn't that interesting? You would think that it would increase our feelings of misery. But when we imagine taking on others' suffering, it actually alleviates our own sense of misery. Buddha's teachings on compassion and altruism contain instructions such as disregard yourself and cherish others. What? That's un-American. Disregard yourself and cherish others. America first. Me first. Okay? Others later. So understanding this advice properly is crucial, for it is given in the context of training the mind in compassion and used as an antidote to self-obsession. Okay. Compassion for others must be cultivated on the basis of self-respect. So we can't have compassion for others unless we respect ourselves and respect others. Okay, he says, we don't create compassion out of guilt or feelings of unworthiness. Yeah. So if we feel guilty and we try and be compassionate because we feel guilty, it's not real compassion. Yeah. For example, when you've done something and you realize, oh, I really mistreated somebody. I treated somebody very badly. Yeah. So I got to be nice to them. Is your being nice always sincere? Or is it, oh, I'm so unworthy, I'm so bad. If I'm nice, then maybe I'll feel better about myself. Okay? So that's why His Holiness is saying, he says, compassion for others must be cultivated on the basis of self-respect, not out of guilt or feelings of unworthiness. Okay, so it's got to be that we respect ourselves, so we respect others. It's not, oh, I'm such a horrible person. I better be nice, otherwise nobody's going to like me. Okay, that's a very different thing than I respect myself as a human being. I respect somebody else as a human being. I want to do what is helpful to them. Do you see the difference? Can you feel the difference? Okay. We and others are equal in wanting to be happy and avoid pain. On that basis, it is suitable to care for and benefit everybody. Okay. Self-preoccupation brings us misery. Viewing everything, whether large or inconsequential, in terms of ourself, we become overly sensitive, easily offended, irritable, and difficult to be with. Okay? So when our attention is always focused on ourself, Somebody walks in the room. What do they think of me? Yeah. Breakfast comes on the serving table. What can I get? What's the food that I like? The weather. Oh, is it weather I like? Am I going to be cold today or am I going to be hot today? Okay. So always seeing things in terms of how they affect us. Okay. It makes us super sensitive to everything. Okay. Because there's this enormous universe, and we filter everything through this tiny lens that is called me, who just happens to be the center of the universe. Except, unfortunately, not everybody recognizes that. Yeah. That's the problem with the world. They don't recognize that I'm the center of the universe. Okay. And so we become so sensitive, everything. Somebody walks in the room and says hello. Did they really mean hello? Or were they making fun of me? Yeah. I say something in a teaching. Oh, is she talking about me? She's really criticizing me. Yeah. Everything we filter through me. And yeah, we get easily offended. We get irritable. Yeah. And we're very difficult to be with sometimes. Yeah. Because every small thing is about me. Okay. Somebody forgets to tell me some bit of information. Oh, they deliberately forgot to tell me that. Somebody looked at me a certain way in the morning. Oh, I think they're mad at me. What did I do to make them mad? They usually smile and say good morning, but this morning they didn't do that. Oh, what did I do? They're so mad at me. You know, it's like maybe the person has a stomach ache. We don't consider that. It's like, oh, they must be mad at me. Okay, the self-centered thought clouds our judgment and makes us foolish. If people are kind to us, even if they have the motivation to manipulate or deceive us, we like them. True or not true? Check up. Somebody, I don't know about you, somebody's nice to me. They praise me. They tell me I'm wonderful. They give me presents. I'm like so gullible. I think they must be wonderful. That person's really smart because they think I'm good. Yeah. So even if they're trying to manipulate or deceive me, I'm easily fooled. Oh yeah, anybody who praises me, they must be fantastic. Okay. But if people who care about us point out one of our faults or try to prevent us from making a bad decision, we get angry. Yeah. Even we have a good friend who comes and says to us, you've been drinking too much. You shouldn't be doping so much. This is going to be real harmful to you. Oh, what are you talking to me about that stuff? People in glass houses shouldn't throw bricks. So it's incredible how we are. Yeah? If somebody's trying to manipulate us through flattery, we bite the hook. If somebody's trying to help us by pointing out something we need to look at, we get mad at him. Have you ever had that happen in reverse, where you've said something to a friend because you care about that friend and they get mad at you? Yeah, so we do the same thing. Okay. Skewing our interpretations of situations and people, self-centeredness is the cause of many mistakes and bad choices. If I look back in my life, some of the things, there were like such vivid red flags in the situation. But I just overlooked them because somehow I thought this was like really good. Totally, the red flags are right there. Be careful. Move away. This is really wonderful. Okay. Expanding our focus to care about others alleviates this unhealthy preoccupation and enables us to connect better with others. As social animals, healthy interactions with others give meaning and purpose to our lives. That's true. To be happy ourselves, we have to care about the welfare of others. We live in relation to others, and if they are distressed or oppressed, we will be surrounded by unhappy people, which is certainly not pleasant for us. If we care for others' well-being, they will be happy, and living among people who are content is far more pleasant for us too. In short, our own happiness comes about as a byproduct of genuinely caring for others. For this reason, caring for others' welfare is a wise way of caring for ourselves. So His Holiness often says, if you want to be selfish, be wisely selfish and take care of others. Yeah, genuinely take care of others. Okay, so we have a little time. If you have this is the first verse, if you have some comments or questions about this.
So I just had a kind of a comment about maybe being like gullible and fooled by other people's maybe like mistaken kindness. For me, I just felt like maybe like I'm more critical of that, and maybe I don't. I'm not so like I don't get pulled into if people are like have a alternative motivation. Mm-hmm. And I was just wondering if there's anything like inherently bad in that perspective.
Oh no. If your sense that they don't have a good motivation, if that's true, that they don't, and so you create some space with them, that's fine. That's actually good because it prevents you from getting tangled up in all sorts of things. Yeah. So being compassionate doesn't mean we go along with what everybody wants. Okay, we don't become a doormat for the world by being compassionate. Yeah. Our compassion has to be joined with wisdom. And if somebody is, doesn't have a good motivation, or they're trying to deceive us, manipulate us or something, then we don't get involved. Yeah, okay, then I'll go on to the next verse. This one's a real doozy. Whenever I am with others, I will practice seeing myself as the lowest of all. And from the very depth of my heart, I will respectfully hold others as supreme. What? It's part of your mind going, what? I will practice seeing myself as the lowest of all. What are you talking about? I'm the best of all. And from the depth of my heart, I will respectfully hold others supreme. No way, they're not supreme. I am. Okay? So, you know, as on a personal level, on a group level, whatever group we belong to, we think it's the best one. Our country, this is our national policy. Yeah, we don't see ourselves as the lowest of all. We are the great and glorious America that's going to save the world until we stop, because they aren't nice enough to us. Okay? So, you know, this verse is difficult to understand. If I see myself as the lowest of all, doesn't that mean I have bad self-esteem? Doesn't that mean I have no self-confidence? Doesn't it mean that I just feel like I'm worthless? No, it doesn't mean any of that. Okay? Doesn't mean any of that. This is not a call to hate ourselves and to think that we're stupid and can't do anything right. Okay? This is a call to subdue our arrogance. Okay? It's a call to subdue the part of our mind that always has to be right. Yeah? How many of you like being right? Yeah? How many of you, okay, when you have an argument, yeah, how many of you make sure you have the last word in the argument? Yeah. How many of you like to win arguments? You don't like to win arguments? You like to lose them. But there's a lot of people who don't care if the relationship suffers, because winning is foremost. Yeah, I've got to win at all costs. Have you ever been in a discussion with somebody, and in the process of the discussion, you realize that your point is not correct, but you keep arguing it anyway because you want to win the discussion and have the last word? Yeah. I'm not giving in. Yeah. I'm going to fight until the end, even if I know I'm wrong. Yeah. Have you ever been in a discussion and listened to the things you're saying and thinking, I should shut up? But you don't, and you keep talking and bullying the other person and tooting your own horn and etc., etc. Not everybody does this, but a certain number of people do that. Okay, what's the result of that? Yeah, when you have to win every argument, when you always have to be right, what's the result? Huh? Yeah, you think you're only happy if you're correct. But what happens to the bigger situation? Yeah, people don't want to be around you. And like she said, the relationship suffers. Yeah, because whenever they talk to you, you can't hear anything that doesn't agree with your own ideas. So then people say, yeah, I'm not going to even bother talking to that person. Because they can't have a discussion. They always have to be right. Does that make some sense to you? Yeah? Have you met people like that? Yeah. Who you can't stand? And then who you imitate? Yeah? It's strange how sometimes the people we can't stand, certain behaviors, then we imitate, That person always wants to be right. They never listen to what I have to say. They discount everything I say. And then what we do is we turn around, we act the very same way to others, thinking that it'll, I'm right. That means I'm good. Yeah? And then what's the result? Well, people don't want to be around you. Yeah. People don't want to talk to you because you can't have a reasonable discussion. Yeah, that one's interesting, isn't it? When we insist on being right. Okay, so here it's saying that instead of being like that and insisting that we're right, insisting that we win the argument, from the depths of our hearts, we're going to hold other people as supreme. We're going to slow down. We're going to really listen to what they say instead of just dismissing it. Oh, so-and-so said that. Doesn't count. They're stupid. Yeah, sometimes we judge people just by the way we look. Yeah. How much was Hillary Clinton judged in the last election because she was a woman or because of what she wore? People sometimes didn't even listen to her ideas and what they said. They just said, useless, forget her. Yeah. So do we benefit when we think like that about other people? Yeah, what would happen if we slowed down and really listened and respected them, even if we didn't agree with them? Just to be able to hear what their perspective is, how they see life. Yeah, it might actually broaden our perspective on things. So His Holiness says, building on the instructions in the first verse to see others as precious, the second verse points out that our arrogance is an obstacle to doing this. Love and compassion are based on seeing others as worthwhile and respecting them. These virtues are unbiased and go beyond the ordinary attitudes of cherishing those who help us and feeling pity for those less fortunate. The foundation of impartial love and compassion is knowing that we and others are equal in wanting happiness and not suffering. Okay, and so quelling that arrogance. So arrogance is a very puffed up mind that thinks we're better than everybody else. All those other people are so stupid, they don't realize how good I am. Yeah. They should be so happy to have me as part of their group because I am going to enrich it, because I am so intelligent and wonderful and knowledgeable and fair and modest. Okay, to remedy our arrogance and partiality, we practice seeing ourselves as the lowest of all. This must be understood in the proper context. It does not mean denigrating ourselves or succumbing to low self-esteem. Thinking we are worthless certainly can't lead to compassion for others. Okay, so don't misinterpret what he's saying here. Seeing ourselves as lower is done in relative terms. In general, human beings are considered higher than animals because we have the ability to distinguish virtue and non-virtue and to understand the long-term results of our actions. whereas the ability of animals to do this is limited. From another perspective, however, we could say that animals are superior to human beings because they kill only when they are hungry or to protect their life, when they are personally threatened, whereas human beings kill for sport and pleasure or when caught up in an ideology or wrong views. Okay? So seeing who's higher and who's lower, you have to see what the context is. Yeah, we can't always hold ourselves as supreme. This verse encourages us to cherish others and appreciate their good qualities. When we invite guests to our home, we respectfully regard them as supreme, prepare a delicious meal for them, and serve them first. In our workplace and family life, we respect those in leadership positions, sometimes. Similarly, here too, we regard others as supreme, regardless of their or our social status. Okay, so instead of looking at other people and saying, oh, I'm better educated than them, or I'm a certain race or ethnicity, or, I'm a certain gender, or I'm from a certain country, or I have a particular talent, therefore I am better than them. Okay, so instead of doing that, we see them as having the Buddha nature, the potential to become Buddhas. We respect them in that way. And we also know that in many situations, those people are going to be much more knowledgeable and helpful than we are. Yeah. I was talking to my brother once, and he's a doctor. Okay, so doctors, they make a lot of money. They think they're big shots. Yeah, there's some joke. What is it? What's the difference between God and a doctor? What is it? The answer is, God knows he's God. Yeah. Whereas a doctor thinks he's God. Yeah, okay. So something like that. Yeah, so doctors think they're big shots. Don't you think so? Yeah, your brother's a doctor. Yeah. So, this is social status. And, I can save people's lives. I can do this, that. Anyway, my brother said to me one time, this is why I remember it, because it was so unusual, is he said he thought that people who did manual skills should get paid the same amount as he got paid because the work they're doing was just as valuable because he didn't know how to do a lot of the things that they're doing. Yeah, like electricians and plumbers and construction people and so on. Yeah, some people who are highly educated, yeah, they don't know how to fix anything. Yeah, they can't sew one stitch. They don't know how to change a light bulb. Yeah. They think they're big shots, but there's so many just fundamental skills that they don't know. So in what I'm getting at is, if we're arrogant in some area, thinking we're really big, we should remember about all the other areas where we don't know what in the world we're doing. Yeah? And it makes us much more humble and much more respectful of other people. Mm-hmm. Rather than thinking, oh, I'm so good because I have this education, or I'm so good because I make this much money, or I'm so good because I'm a good athlete or a musician or an artist or whatever it is. Yeah. To see that other people are just as good in the things that they do. Yeah. So you saw when you came up the house down the road, we call it Tara's Refuge. Yeah. And the whole front yard is now dug up. Yeah. Do any of you know how to use that backhoe to dig things, to dig trenches? Yeah. They're putting in a new water main. Anybody here know how to put in a water main? So those people are the people who know more than us that we really need to respect. Because without people putting in a new water main, we're not going to have water. So that's a big deal. Yeah. When it comes to electricity, I'm really good. I can turn on a light switch. That is the extent of my ability. Oh, I know how to change a light bulb too. I shouldn't underestimate my ability. Okay. Any more than those two, I am lost. Yeah, I don't know what in the world to do. So I have to respect the people who know even a teeny bit more about electricity than I do, because I'm totally dependent on them. When greed, hatred, or arrogance overwhelms us, we usually act without restraint, often in ways that we later regret. However, cultivating the thought that others are valuable and that we are just one among many people enables us to curb this behavior. Okay? So seeing ourselves as the lowest of all, holding others as supreme, is an antidote to arrogance, and a way to help us really respect other living beings.
So if we're in a debate with someone and we're holding ourselves as the lowest of all, how do we do that without automatically conceding? What would that situation look like if we still want to hold our ground?
Okay. You still, put forth your ideas, you discuss, you use reasons to back up your ideas, okay? But you do that without being puffed up, okay? So you do it without an attitude of, you jerk, you don't understand what in the world you're talking about. I know, listen to me. So you can talk like with that kind of attitude, that kind of motivation, or you can have a debate or a discussion with somebody, but your motivation is really for both of you to learn. Okay? And so then you're doing it very respectfully and with kindness. And if the other person says something that is better than your idea, then you say, yeah, you're right. You don't have ego identities with your ideas such that you hold on to them even when they're wrong. Yeah, because sometimes people who, have to win an argument and so hold on to wrong ideas, they look foolish. Yeah, and eventually, everybody goes, okay, you win, but everybody goes, oh, that guy's a little bit. Okay, so you do it with confidence, but you're not. Being the big shot. Okay, does that make some sense, Jeff?